Welcome to the Deep Dive Library, your go-to resource for real talks on entrepreneurship, finance, and personal growth. No fluff, just bold insights to help you grow, build, and lead. Let's dive in.
All right, so today we're tackling something absolutely fundamental, something I think everyone struggles with. Time management in this, well, crazy modern work world.
It really does feel like a universal challenge now, doesn't it?
Totally. We've got a great stack of material here. Articles, research, some really key books, all digging into why it feels so hard. And crucially, what might actually help. You know, if you're listening and you feel buried under tasks, just constantly overwhelmed.
Yeah, you're definitely not alone in that feeling.
Yeah. So why does it feel so hard? Is it just us or is something bigger going on?
It's definitely bigger. A lot stems from how work itself has changed. David Allen, in Getting Things Done, really nailed this early on. He talked about how knowledge work often lacks clear edges.
Clear edges, what do you mean by that? Well, think about older forms of work. Building something physical, farming a field.
Yeah.
There was a visible point where you were done. You could see the finished product.
Right, tangible completion.
Exactly. But with knowledge work, emails, reports, analysis, there's always more you could do. Another angle, another revision, another person to loop in. Projects don't have those hard stops.
So they just expand indefinitely, filling all available time and then some.
Pretty much. And this leaves us drowning in what Alan calls stuff. This, anything unresolved rattling around in your inbox on your desk or just buzzing in your head.
It feels like jobs themselves are shifting too. More cross-team stuff, constant adaptation needed, those dreaded CC'd email chains where you're copied on everything.
Oh, absolutely. That blurs boundaries even further. Suddenly you're dealing with things tangentially related to your core job, just adding to the noise.
So the old tools, like just a simple calendar or a massive to-do list that's basically a brain dump, they don't cut it anymore.
Often, no. Or even just basic ABC prioritizing. These methods weren't really designed for the sheer volume and the variable nature of the tasks and information hitting us today.
Okay, so the work itself is boundaryless. Then there's the other monster, distraction.
The digital deluge, yeah. Cal Newport talks extensively about this in Deep Work. Our main work tools, email, Slack, social media feeds, news alerts, they're literally designed to grab and hold our attention.
Engineered for interruption.
Precisely. And research, like Dr. Sahar Yusuf's work, shows this just shreds our workday into these tiny little confetti-like pieces of focus between pings and notifications.
So you're constantly switching gears, never really settling into anything substantial.
Right, you're bouncing. And this brings us to a really critical point, something highlighted in that Success Magazine article you shared. The huge difference between being busy and being productive.
This is a big one. People often use them interchangeably, but they're not the same at all, are they?
Not even close. Being busy is often just activity, reacting, clearing the inbox, going to meetings, checking things off a list maybe, but not necessarily the right things. It's driven by external demands.
Okay, so busy is reactive. What's productive then?
Productive is proactive. It's consciously directing your energy towards tasks that actually move you closer to your significant goals. It's about impact, not just motion.
And the kicker is, the busiest people are often the least productive in terms of meaningful output.
It's a tough truth, but often, yeah. They're so caught up in the whirlwind of reacting that the important goal-oriented work gets pushed aside, just treading water, like you said earlier.
Clockify mentions some common archetypes here, like the firefighter.
Yeah, the firefighter feels super busy, always putting out urgent fires, seems heroic maybe, but they're constantly reactive, risk burning out, and often the important long-term stuff doesn't get done because there's always another crisis.
And the perfectionist.
Also struggles. Wants everything just right, which sounds good, but they get stuck, miss deadlines, burn out, because nothing ever feels truly finished enough to let go of.
Okay, so we've got this landscape. Endless tasks, blurry lines, constant distraction, and our own habits trapping us in busy work. Feels a bit bleak. How do we start to push back? What's the foundation for actually getting control?
I think the absolute starting point is what Stephen Covey laid out in 7 Habits, that first habit. Be proactive.
Proactive versus reactive. We touched on that with busy versus productive.
Exactly. Reactive people, Covey says, focus on their circle of concern. Things that worry them but they can't control, like the economy, other people's actions, company policy. They expend energy there.
Complaining, worrying, things that don't change the situation.
Right. Proactive people focus their energy on their circle of influence, things they can actually do something about. learning a new skill, improving their work habits, choosing their attitude, deciding where to focus their effort.
Taking ownership, essentially, even within a chaotic system.
That's the core of it. It's about shifting from feeling like a victim of circumstance to being the driver of your own actions.
That feels powerful. So step 1, own your response, focus on what you can influence. What's next?
Covey's second habit builds right on that. Begin with the end in mind.
Okay, what does that mean practically?
It means getting clear on your ultimate destination. What are your core values? What are your big long-term goals? He even suggests thinking about what you'd want said at your funeral. What kind of impact do you want to have?
So it's about having a personal mission statement almost, a North Star.
Exactly. When you have that clear vision, it acts as a filter. Faced with a million possible tasks, you can ask, does doing this actually move me towards that important end goal? It helps you separate the truly important from the merely urgent or distracting.
That provides direction, which sounds crucial when everything's shouting for attention. And this connects to Cal Newport's ideas too, right? Deep work.
Absolutely essential connection. Deep work, as Newport defines it, is basically focused, distraction-free concentration on cognitively demanding tasks. It's where you push your mental limits, learn hard things, and produce high-value, original work.
The kind of work that actually builds expertise and creates breakthroughs. You mentioned Nate Silver, David Hein Hansen, people doing really complex stuff.
That's the zone.
Yeah.
And you contrast that with shallow work, the logistical stuff, routine emails, admin tasks. Necessary, maybe, but not mentally taxing, often done while distracted, easily replicated, and adds much less unique value.
And the argument is that deep work, despite being so valuable, is becoming increasingly rare. Why is that?
Several factors, Newport points out. One is attention residue. Research by Leslie Perlow showed that when you switch tasks quickly, part of your brain's attention stays stuck on the previous task for a while.
So multitasking isn't just less efficient, it actually degrades your thinking capacity on the next thing.
Significantly. Constant switching means you're almost never operating at full cognitive horsepower. Then there's that busyness as a proxy for productivity issue again.
Right, because deep work is often invisible, while answering emails constantly looks like you're working hard.
Exactly. In knowledge work, value is often hard to measure, as Matthew Crawford notes. So people default to performing visible busyness. It's easier to show you're busy than to demonstrate deep, focused progress.
It's like a productivity theater?
Kind of. And then there's what some call the cult of the internet. We tend to adopt new tools, social media, constant connectivity platforms, just because they offer some potential benefit without rigorously weighing the costs, particularly the cost to our ability to focus.
Like the pressure for writers or academics to be constantly active on Twitter, even if it fragments their thinking time.
That's a classic example. We often embrace the connectivity without thinking deeply about the trade-off with concentration. It feels like we've tilted the scales heavily towards shallow connection over deep thought.
But deep work isn't just about being productive, is it? There's a meaning aspect too.
Definitely. Thinkers like Matthew Crawford talk about craftsmanship, the inherent satisfaction and meaning found in developing a skill, wrestling with a challenging problem, finding value in the work itself. Deep work is often where that happens. It's also linked to Csikszentmihalyi's idea of flow, that state of being completely absorbed in a challenging activity. That's intrinsically rewarding.
Okay, so we need to be proactive, have our end in mind, and really value and protect time for deep work. Now, the practicalities. How do we handle that flood of stuff David Allen talked about? How do we actually decide what to work on minute by minute, day by day? That's a key question listeners have.
Right, back to the trenches. Allen's getting things done method is crucial here. The first step isn't making a list, it's processing everything. You have to capture all that stuff. Emails, notes, ideas in your head, get it out and into a trusted system.
An inbox, physical or digital.
Yes. And then, for each item, you have to ask, what is this? Is it actionable? If yes, what's the desired outcome? And critically, what is the very next physical action I need to take?
So project proposal isn't an action. The action might be email Sarah for budget figures or draft outline of section 1.
Exactly. Until you define that concrete next step, it just looms as this vague, stressful blob. Processing turns ambiguity into clarity.
Okay, so we've processed our stuff into clear next actions. Now, how do we prioritize? Because often everything feels important or urgent. That's another big listener question.
Great question. This is where prioritization techniques are vital. The classic Eisenhower Matrix is a powerful start. You think about tasks in 2 dimensions: urgent, and important.
Urgent's important, do it now. Important, not urgent. Schedule it. Urgent, not important. Delegate it. Not urgent, not important. Delete it.
That's the framework. It forces you to consciously separate what's truly important for your goals from what's just making noise right now. It acknowledges that urgency isn't the same as importance.
Although distinguishing can be tough sometimes, right? Resisting the pull of the urgent but unimportant takes discipline.
It absolutely does. It's a skill. Another approach is eat that frog based on consequence. Find the one task your frog that's most important, maybe the one you're dreading most, but will have the biggest positive impact.
And you do that first thing in the morning.
Yeah. Tackle the biggest, ugliest frog first before your willpower wanes or distractions pile up. Then there's the 1-3-5 rule you saw mentioned.
Plan for one big task, 3 medium tasks, and 5 small tasks each day or week.
Exactly. It's a reality check. It forces you to be realistic about what you can actually achieve, moving beyond just a long list of prioritized items to a concrete daily or weekly plan. It helps manage expectations and avoid that perfectionist trap of overscheduling.
Okay, processing, prioritizing, now scheduling. How do we make sure we actually have the time slots to do these important tasks? This gets to the core of creating a schedule that works.
Time blocking, or time boxing, is probably the most powerful technique here. It's mentioned everywhere: Asana, Clockify, Newport. Instead of a to-do list floating next to your calendar, you block out specific times on your calendar for specific tasks.
So it's not just write report, it's 9.000, 10.30 a.m., write section 1 of report.
Precisely. You're assigning a task to a time container. Clockify breaks it down. List tasks, set goals for the block, estimate and allocate time, maybe longer blocks for deep work, shorter ones for batching emails, then work the block, stop when time's up, take a break, review.
It creates structure and protects that time.
And Cal Newport's fixed schedule productivity takes it a step further. Decide your finish time for the day in advance. Block out your essential deep work slots first, then put the shallow work into the remaining gaps.
So the default answer to things that would push you past your fixed finish time becomes no, or at least not today.
Essentially, yes. It forces hard choices and protects your non-work time, pushing back against that always-on culture. There's also unscheduling mentioned by CCI, where you map out fixed commitments first to see your available free time blocks, then track how you actually use them. It's more diagnostic.
All right, we've processed, prioritized, scheduled. The final boss fight. Staying focused in those blocks and beating procrastination. How do we actually do the work when the time comes?
This is where active defense against distraction is key. Turn off notifications seriously. Disable them on your computer and phone for focus blocks. Close irrelevant tabs and apps. Put the phone physically out of reach.
Create a fortress of solitude, basically.
As much as possible. Batching communication helps too. Check email or messages at specific times, maybe 2-3 times a day, not constantly. Don't let it dictate your workflow.
Okay, minimize external interruptions. What about internal focus?
Techniques like Pomodoro. Those short bursts of work followed by breaks help maintain concentration. Time boxing itself helps by creating a sense of urgency within the block. Asana mentioned creating triggers like a clean desk and specific music always means writing time to condition your brain.
And Newport has some more intense focus training ideas.
Yes, like productive meditation, focusing intensely on a single work problem while doing something physical like walking. You practice noticing when your mind wanders and gently bringing it back, strengthening that focus muscle. And crucially, avoid just looping on what you already know, push towards a solution.
Then there are Roosevelt dashes.
Yeah, intense bursts. Set a ridiculously short deadline for a deep task. Force yourself into hyper-concentration. It's like interval training for your attention span.
Wow, okay. And internet blocks.
Similar idea, but for internet access.
Yeah.
Schedule specific, limited times you're allowed to use the internet. Outside those blocks, it's off limits. This trains your brain to resist the urge to switch to easy stimuli whenever you hit a difficult point in your work.
All this really drives home that focus isn't just something you have, it's a skill you build. Like training a muscle.
Exactly. Like Adam Marlin's Talmud study example in deep work, or Anders Ericsson's research on deliberate practice. Consistent, focused effort builds capacity.
Which leads to maybe the simplest but hardest technique. Saying no.
Absolutely crucial. As Success Magazine and Newport both stress, you have to protect your time for high-value work. Saying no isn't rude, it's strategic. My schedule is full, or I can't commit to that right now. It allows all these other techniques to actually function.
So we have the principles, the tactics for tasks, time, and focus. How do we keep it going? And what about tools, apps, software? How do we pick wisely?
For maintaining momentum, visual systems like Kanban can help. Seeing tasks move from to-do to doing to done on a board gives a sense of progress, especially for projects. It doesn't prioritize inherently, but it visualizes flow.
That visual feedback is powerful. What about ending the day without work stress bleeding over?
That's where Newport's shutdown ritual is brilliant. End of day. Systematically review all open loops, emails, tasks, projects. Ensure each has a next action defined and captured in your system, or a plan for when you'll address it.
So you consciously tell your brain, it's handled, you can let go now. Combats that Zarnik effect of incomplete tasks nagging you.
Precisely. You give your mind permission to disengage because it trusts everything is captured. Saying shutdown complete can even help create that mental boundary.
Okay, now tools and apps. There are a million out there. How do you choose without getting overwhelmed or adopting things that just add complexity? This is a big question for people looking for the best tool.
And Newport warns against the any benefit mindset, adopting a tool if it offers any tiny advantage. He promotes the craftsman approach.
Like the farmer assessing the hay baler.
Exactly. Ask, what are my core professional and personal goals? What are the 2-3 key activities that drive those goals? Then evaluate a potential tool. Does it offer a substantial positive impact on those specific key activities? And does that positive impact clearly outweigh the negatives, the time suck, the distraction potential, the learning curve?
So it's a much higher bar than just, this looks cool or it might help a bit.
Much higher. Be selective. Be critical. A practical way to test this, especially for potentially distracting tools like social media, is Newport's 30-day break suggestion.
Quit it for a month and see what happens, yeah.
Afterward, ask honestly, were the last 30 days significantly worse without it? Did anyone crucial really care I wasn't there? It provides real data to counter FOMO or inflated ideas of the tool's necessity.
And throughout all this, we need to remember downtime isn't laziness, right?
Absolutely essential. Productivity isn't nonstop action. That psychological science study on nature walks shows our directed attention needs recharging. Deep work capacity is finite, maybe only a few hours a day, based on Erickson's work. Breaks, rest, stepping away are critical for sustaining high-quality focus.
So pushing through exhaustion is actually counterproductive.
Often, yes. And filling leisure time with engaging activities, not just passive consumption, can also help maintain mental fitness and reduce the allure of shallow digital distractions.
So pulling it all together, GTD, Eisenhower, deep work, time boxing, shutdown rituals, there's no single magic app or system, is there?
Definitely not. As those Reddit discussions highlight, it's deeply personal. You have to experiment. Try time blocking for a week. Try the 1-3-5 rule. See what sticks for your brain, your work style, your life circumstances. Customize things.
Trial and error is key. Find your own blend.
And consistency matters more than perfection. Like the Seinfeld don't break the chain idea. Small, consistent efforts build habits and train focus far better than occasional heroic sprints.
Ultimately, it comes down to maximizing your return on time invested ROTI, making sure your effort goes towards what truly matters.
Yeah, thinking about that 80-20 principle, what are the vital few activities that drive the most value? Focus there. That's the shift from being perpetually busy to being genuinely productive and hopefully less overwhelmed.
We've covered a lot: the why of the overwhelm, the foundational mindset shifts, a whole toolbox of practical strategies for tasks, scheduling, focus, and then sustaining it.
Hopefully weaving together these ideas from Allen, Covey, Newport, and the other resources gives you a more holistic picture, a framework to start experimenting with in your own life.
So let's leave everyone with this final thought. We know deep work is increasingly valuable and rare. We suspect a lot of the shallow stuff keeping us busy isn't as crucial as it feels. So what's one small, concrete step you could take, maybe even today, to carve out just 15 or 30 minutes more for focused deep work? What tiny no could you say to make space for that? If you found value here but haven't subscribed yet, why wait? Every subscriber fuels this channel to keep delivering the real, game-changing content you need. Hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe. And no W, don't miss out on the next episode that could change everything for you.